Welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope you're excited for the second episode of Traitorous Season 2. We started our second season last week, of course, and I think the premiere was a smashing success. I'm very happy with how it went. It is up on YouTube now if you did not see this season. I talked about this on my Wednesday stream a little bit, but if you were not there and did not hear, this season for Traitorous, I'm going to do my best to get each episode edited and up on YouTube before the next one airs live. So that way, if you guys want to get caught up if you missed it, or rewatch things if you did see it, you will have like a nice ambiatic, is that a word? A nice version with ambiance and like edited and without any muted parts to watch on YouTube instead of just trying to dig through the VOD. So, I think this should be manageable enough. We'll see if I miss a week or two because my schedule gets crazy. I apologize. But I will do my best to keep that up. So yes, the first episode is already on YouTube for you to go watch. Hopefully stream should be, stable. I keep feeling like my camera is lagging. I don't know if it actually is or not. But sometimes when I've just restarted my computer, as I've done today, the stream doesn't like to behave. So if it is being a little bit bitchy and laggy in the first scene, then I'll probably restart stream really quick just once, and then that should fix it. Otherwise, hopefully we should be okay. As far as a bunch of Sims showing up at the houses randomly, I have fixed that issue in my game, and so we should not have people like Judith Ward trying to encroach on our scenes constantly like we did last episode. I think that was really the only like tech difficulty or like issue with the Sims not behaving that happened in our premiere, which should be solved tonight. So fingers crossed all the actors are on it for this episode. Do I have anything else to say, really? I don't think so. I'm very hot, so, and I'm using, like, a new finishing spray that felt like it didn't do much, so if I start to melt in the middle of the episode, just ignore it. So this episode, I'm very excited to get to it with you guys. But I would say that this episode, we're going to call this one a bit more of like a domestic episode is what I want to call it, since it is only the second episode and we still have a lot to kind of like get into before it kind of kicks off. This one is probably going to be a little bit of a more talky episode again, but hopefully all the scenes are still interesting to you. I'm excited to get to it, but I would definitely say that this one is a little bit more conversational, somewhat like the premiere than, you know, a bunch of action happening. Hopefully you're still into that, though. I just feel like I need to preface those episodes of, like, this one isn't going to have a ton of shit happening necessarily. We're just kind of, like, getting, you know, we're setting up all of the storylines this season still, but as you know, things will ramp up. There's my anxiety disclaimer. All right, I believe that is all that I have for you, so let's go ahead and get into it. Do I have my flashback set up? Yes, I do. I think that hopefully this episode is a decent length. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go a little... I'm simultaneously worried it's going to be a little short and also a little long. It has more commercial breaks than usual, but I'm also worried that these scenes are not going to be long enough, but hopefully it fills out about... 2.5 hours like usual. Okay, I apologize. I will stop rambling now. Let's go ahead and get into our flashback for the second episode here. Without further ado, hello, welcome to episode 2, Appearances. For our flashback tonight, we are not taking too much of a time trip back in the day. We are actually only going back about a year ago, back to 2020, a little bit after the events of the last season, and here it is late at night, and we are at the detective's offices yet again as we see someone is walking into the offices here a little bit down, And it is, in fact, Justin the second here, heading into James's detective office as he kind of, knocks. James calling for him to come in. Justin peeking around the corner and, calling out for him, Detective James Prescott, as James goes ahead and looks up from his computer here, saying, lucky you caught me, I was just headed out for the night, as Justin kind of nods, knowing that it's definitely a bit late that he has come to talk to the detective here, saying, yes, of course, I was hoping you'd still be here at this hour, with James going ahead and motioning to the chair for Justin to go ahead and sit down here, as Justin does so. James just kind of giving him the once-over, going, I mean, not every day one of the Clarkes strolls into my office. What can I do for you? Let me just get them into a conversation here and hope that they stay sitting. Oh, God, whatever. As Justin responds, well, yes, I'm sure, as you know, my father, the great Justin Clarke, has passed away. James putting on a similarly somber expression and saying, yes, of course, the double death of Robert Winston and Justin Clarke was quite the story around these parts, as Justin sort of raises his eyebrows going, sure. The press often does like to prattle on about my family, don't they? Always lumping us together with those other degenerates, too. At least the gossip hordes left us alone at the funeral today, as James continues to leave the somber look on his own face, saying, yes, I'm sorry for your loss. I hope the funeral helped you move on. As Justin, still a bit snarkily, says, yeah, helped some of us, I think. Couldn't help but notice that the rat fucks in the Winston family decided to have their burial the same day, but the reception was nice, I suppose. James replying, well, I'm truly sorry for your loss and forgive me for any bluntness here, but as I stated, I was on my way out, so what can I do for you, Mr. Clarke? Justin the second finally getting into business there, saying, right, well, like I said, it seems most of my family is dealing with their grief quite well, remarkably well, and the Winstons have spared no courtesy to us either, of course. I can't help but feel like the dual burial along with the dual deaths was some sort of twisted power play against us. As Detective James is putting on more of his business face here, too, and furrowing his brows, he says, what are you saying? Justin continuing, pretty weird coincidence that two old men at odds would die exactly the same time, yeah. Even if they were getting up there in age to keel over at the exact same moment. James replying, it seemed strange to me too when I heard, but the autopsies ruled both as a heart attack, right? Justin going, myocardial infarction in a man that I've been treating and saw no signs of heart problems in the past year or so. Plenty of other medical issues that needed tending to, but his heart was in tip-top shape. My father, rest his soul, was a fairly grumpy man that only got worse in his later years. If he wasn't yelling at me or my siblings, it was the air itself. He spent his days in a perpetual state of displeasure, so in my professional medical opinion, I find it a little hard to believe that even an argument with Robert Winston would suddenly make his heart give out. James questioning, and Robert Winston? Justin just rolling his eyes at that, replying, I would have no way of knowing where his health was at, but same as my father, the man lived on complaints. Robert and my father bickered as much as they breathed. I don't care how heated their fight became, it just wouldn't be enough to bring them to their deathbed. And I just can't shake the feeling that it happening simultaneously is too far-fetched to be an accident. I don't think it is an accident, and that's why I'm here. James, opening up a new document on his computer as they talk, saying, so, you want me to look into the deaths of Justin Clarke and Robert Winston? Justin rolling his eyes once more as he says, the Winstons have long disrespected us, and their behavior continues even in the face of this tragedy. Perhaps that fits the norm, but I can't help but thinking their nonchalance has more to do with this than hatred for the Clarks. So, no, I don't want you to look into the deaths of both Robert Winston and Justin Clarke. I want you to investigate the death of my father, Justin Clarke, and if looking into Robert Winston's death becomes beneficial to finding my own father's killer, then so be it, but don't make it a priority. James just nodding along and going, you know that if I take this case, I will have to cover all my bases, which means looking into the Clarke family as well. Justin, kind of hanging his head a little bit heavier now as he replies, I hate to say it, but my own family's quick grieving gives me a bit of a pause as well, so yes, I think that would be wise. I remember reading that story years ago about how you found the murderer of that young heiress's brother, and I've heard praises of your name from colleagues before. I just want the best, and I think you can accomplish this task. James replying, well, thank you, that means a lot, and I have to say I've been itching to get my hands close to this for quite some time now, but I had no legitimate reason to do so. You know that with such a high-profile case, Justin kind of cutting him off as he says, money is no object, just give me the results and I'll pay whatever you ask. Do we have a deal, Detective Prescott? As James stands up to shake Justin's hand one more time as he replies, we have a deal, Justin Clarke. Meet me here tomorrow morning at 8 and we'll go over everything you know to get started. As Justin smiles for the first time, pretty much since his father's death, as he says back to James, excellent. And so with the detective's case for the deaths of Robert Winston and Justin Clarke being started here by the request of Justin II, we will go ahead and leave 2020. I didn't want to wait any longer to get back from commercial break, so we're going to pretend it's a little bit lighter in The Sims and not like the middle of the night still. Let's pretend it's decently morning time. The sun should be rising soon in The Sims anyways. We'll see if we can get it for the scene. Let's go ahead and get into our next scene here as we head back to 2021 in present day. I took the flashback filter off before I took away from commercial break this time. Go me, usually forget. But in 2021, we're going to go ahead and head back to the nondescript corporate coffee chain we saw last time, as we have outside on the terrace here, James meeting up for coffees, we're going to pretend are in front of them, with Marissa Clarke, yet again, just chatting the morning away as they have some coffee together, as James just says to her, I could listen to you talk about numbers for hours, Marissa, as she sort of giggles, going, oh, please, I've already agreed to speak with you more than once, you don't need to give me empty flattery at this point, as he goes, no, cross my heart, it's not, it's always attractive to talk to someone about something they're clearly knowledgeable in, and you have a beautiful brain for business, as Marissa just kind of rolls her eyes, but sort of suggestively smirks back at him, saying, guess we'll need to find your niche to prattle on about next time, then. What did you say you do again? As James replies, oh, I'm a stockbroker downtown. I doubt I could explain stocks as eloquently as you speak on your own business, but I'd be willing to try. Marissa just saying, oh, I would love that. And you know, we have quite a few stockbrokers under the protection of insurezo, so if you're ever looking for a little bit of extra security, especially in this digital age, James just sort of chuckling back at her as he says, always working, aren't you? You know, I have heard pretty good things about insurezo, especially since you took the #1 spot last year. Marissa's saying, oh, over the children's playhouse it is insurezo, easy. As James just kind of smiles back at her, going, oh, really? I'd love to hear more about this incredible feat at some point. As she says, lady doesn't kiss and tell. Besides, that was only part of the equation. James, subtly prying for more information, just going, oh. As Marissa says, oh, plenty of things have contributed to insurezo's success in the past year, though I must still take credit for them. As James just kind of, continues to... God, we're getting Xbox achievements, excuse. James just kind of lets her continue talking, just, oh, you don't say. As Marissa continues, my father, rest his soul, might have built a insurezo, but he was right to turn over the company to my leadership. I'm the one who took us to the top. As James says, right, your father died last year. Well, I'm so sorry for your loss. Marissa just kind of brushing him off at that, going, oh, thank you. It was a year ago, so... And James, putting on an appropriately somber face here as well. As he goes, yes, but only a year. I mean, I'm impressed you've done so well with the business, even through all the grieving. Marissa just sort of swirling around the remains of her coffee in her cup, going, yes, I suppose. As you said, never done working. James, pulling back a little bit, seeing that she's definitely kind of closing up with this conversation, as he says, well, sometimes a distraction can be nice, but hey, just kind of like taking her hand gently across the table, going, I adore these business talks, but if you ever need a friend to talk to about the heavier stuff like that, I want to say I'd be happy to lend an ear. Marissa seeming a little uncomfortable still on this conversation topic, but not necessarily uncomfortable with the hand touch, as she replies, well, thank you, that is very kind, but really, I'm all right. I have processed this in my own way, and while it may be more callous than everyone else seems to like, I'm all right, truly. Come back, Marissa. I'll fix your bladder, hush. We're almost done with the scene anyways. James saying, yeah, all right, of course. Everyone grieves in their own way, and at least now you know that you can call my number if you ever need anything. Marissa definitely wanting to get off of the more serious topics, throwing more of a suggestive look back at him this time and going, yeah, I'll remember that. And some people leave them there to finish up their coffee and playing with the local dogs, I suppose, at the nondescript corporate coffee chain. Sun is continuing to come up on a bright early morning in our series here, and we are headed over to the local hotel, actually, where we saw Samantha and Maxwell after prom last season, but this time we are seeing Aimi Winston actually walking up to a hotel door over in the hotel and knocking on the door, waiting a decent amount, kind of checking her watch, almost raising her hand to knock again, as the person inside does finally peek their head out, it being Hunter. Clarke, of course, kind of doing a quick look around the hallway before rapidly yanking her arm into the hotel room, as Aimi almost falls in her heels as he just kind of yanks her into the room, slamming the door behind her as she says, Jesus, do you think I'm stupid? I wouldn't have knocked until no one was around. Relax. I couldn't leave the pet in the camper alone in The Sims, so our pet raccoon, well, Hunter's pet raccoon Trash Boy's with us in the scene. We're gonna let him do his thing and we're gonna ignore him. But anyways, because he's not written into the script, but he's chilling around with the papers, it's fine. Love a good appearance from Trash Boy over here. So, Hunter, just acting a little bit twitchy as he kind of looks around at all the scattered paper here, talking to Aimi, saying, you never be too careful, Ames. I never know where the bitch has eyes. As Aimi just kind of rolls her own eyes, setting down her purse and also looking at the paper a bit strewn about the hotel room here, as Amy's like, you look whipped. Hunter going, yeah, I didn't sleep at all last night, actually. Kind of just like looking around, seeming to look for a specific pile of papers, as Amy's like, what? Hunter going, so that I can get you these, finding the exact file that he's looking for to hand it over to Aimi here, continuing, I scoured all the backlogs I could find, discreetly find, that these are all the client names that I'm sure Marissa secured under the table practices. Aimi replying, you're practically bouncing off the walls. How exactly did you stay up all night? Hunter definitely paying her no mind, just continuing on, kind of shaking the file in her direction with, I figure we can go through them today, and I can explain what I know about each one. As Amy's like, did you bring cocaine into this hotel room? Hunter's saying the correct answer's no, right? As Aimi just sighs, going, Hunter, as he's like, hey, you asked for concrete results, baby. He's still trying to like get her to take the file, as Aimi says, What have I said about bringing illegal substances to meetings with your lawyer? A lawyer that you are still hanging on by a thread with, by the way. You should be lucky I am still willing to move forward with this case after you destroyed my husband's livelihood. As Hunter, as usual, just kind of tries to flirt his way out of most situations, saying, but my charm's just irresistible. Aimi rolling her eyes once more and going, yeah, that's why it took 8 months of groveling and the threat of bankruptcy from my family for me to retake this high-profile and fingers crossed high-paying case of yours. As Hunter kind of flips through the file, muttering to himself, I didn't resist my charms the other night, as Aimi immediately blushes, of course, going, I said we are never speaking about that again, as Hunter just kind of giggles, saying, whatever. You are lucky that I am desperate enough to escape the grasp of my sister, to risk my life by including that hacking of insurezo in this case file. Aimi just going, don't be dramatic. I told you you would get full immunity for providing all this evidence, and that is one of the only concrete pieces of evidence we have against her at this point, even though I do not understand how she got you to go through with such an egregious attack against my family still. Hunter, looking a little sheepish, kind of kicking his foot across the floor and going, I told you she blackmailed me for, Aimi filling in the blank, the time you accidentally killed the family fish, as Hunter sort of squints, judging his own bullshit that has come out of Amy's mouth, going, right, yeah. Aimi rolling her eyes and just kind of squinting back at him, saying, you can't even remember the lie that you told me, even though I've told you no more lying. Hunter, unconvincingly replying, I'm not lying. Aimi, still not believing it, but knowing she'll get nowhere by prying, especially right now, just saying sure, as Hunter's like, okay, are we gonna go through these profiles or not? Aimi taking the file out of his hands, but telling Hunter, I can't work with you like this. Go home and actually get some rest, please. I'll look over them and record their information into our case, and we can discuss the specifics that you know tomorrow, okay? Hunter still kind of jittery and eager to get going on this, trying to protest, but Aimi just shutting him down immediately with, go home, as Hunter just kind of gives a little bow, saying, all right, I will head home, talk to you tomorrow, Mrs. Robinson, throwing a kiss on her cheek and running out the door before she can protest, as she does try to throw after him, like, I told you to not, god damn it, as Hunter is long and gone, Aimi just sighing heavily as she begins to flip through the case file herself, muttering to her own self that, the payout for this case better be worth it. So we will leave Aimi to get to her work there. Trash Boy, you can go with Hunter. And we will leave that scene there for now. It is the nice, blistering, sunny, warm afternoon now, and we are at this gorgeous location by the beach as we see through the trees here over in the less forested area. We see Amanda and Rosalie walking through. Rosalie just kind of holding a clipboard, taking notes as they go. Amanda just continuing to talk on, saying, and so since it's so close to my parents' house, I figured that we can just do most of the prep there and then walk down here. I'll just get them to continue kind of walking around, looking as Amanda's showing her the wedding venue, talking about stuff as Rose is like, yeah, I think that'll work well. And Amanda continuing. And then here's the part that I want covered in rose petals. Really, the marble tiles are just to help with the walking, but I want to barely see them by the end. Okay, now, here's the big one, as they get a little bit closer to the platform over here, pointing to the big arch and saying, this arch came with those ugly little leaves, but I want something more elegant. Do you think you can cover the entire thing with roses too? Rosie's just like, yeah, that's easy. We can test out a couple of patterns and see what you like best. Amanda going, oh, perfect. Whatever we do for that, we can mimic on the flower wall I want for reception pictures. I just think they're so romantic, you know. Rosalie just continuing to take notes, starting to kind of sketch out a couple ideas she has, just sort of nodding along like, yeah, I'll have to get to work on that soon, but it'll definitely make a statement as Amanda's like, oh, yes, you get me. Oh, Chris! As she sees her fiance, of course, going and dropping some boxes over here near the stage area, as there's still so much stuff to continue to gather. Rosie feeling her heart sink a little bit as she hears Amanda scream for her fiance. Amanda dragging her over to Chris, who is still kind of unloading all the things that he has brought in. Amanda saying to him, glad I could catch you. Meet our new florist, as Christopher turns around finally going, yeah, awesome to meet you. Complete panic filling his face as he sees Rosalie, of course, who is doing a much better job of keeping on a professional front, just kind of focusing on her clipboard here. As Amanda walks over to Chris, kind of seeing his panicked tone and giving him like a little kiss on the cheek and being like, ugh, babe, drop the Winston vitriol for like a minute. I wouldn't let an enemy into our territory if her work wasn't impeccable, which from what I can tell, it is. Rosalie just kind of giving an awkward smile saying, thank you. How to say not? Whatever. as Amanda continues on, just sort of oblivious about the awkward vibe that has entered the conversation here, going, I mean, you two must know each other from, like, different events and such, right? As Rosalie's like, yeah, I know, Chris. Chris's eyes widening again in even more panic for a minute as Rosalie continues on. We, went to high school together, as Amanda goes, oh, right, oh, yeah, oh, you both went to public high school, I forgot. Chris kind of awkwardly and way too loudly joining in, yeah, nice to see you, Rosalie. It's been, as Rosalie just stares him dead in the eyes, going, since the Ritter Gala last year, yeah. Amanda's just still fully oblivious, saying, oh, right, I'm so sorry for your loss. It was devastating to lose our patriarch. Rosalie turning back to her like, yeah, thank you, it's fine. I was never close to my grandfather. Everything we've discussed sounds plenty doable and gorgeous. I would love to accept your offer, as Amanda screams, going, yay, oh, so exciting, another thing's checked off the list then. Amanda, excited about finding a florist for the wedding, going ahead and wrapping Rosalie up in a hug here, as over Amanda's shoulder, Chris and Rosalie just kind of awkwardly lock eyes once more. Chris being the first to break the gaze and just look down a bit ashamed as Rosalie takes a deep breath and steels herself to continue getting the tour with Amanda, as Christopher decides to excuse himself. So we'll let them continue the little tour of the venue for the day, but we will leave that situation there for now. Later afternoon now, it actually is in the game for once as well. Marissa Clarke is getting home, of course, to the family estate, and as she hears a little bit of commotion in the study, she decides to head into the study here, where she finds, we'll just have him head over to the bookcase here. She finds her husband, Sean, kind of rifling through some books and files in here in the study that is no longer converted into a makeshift bedroom for Justin II and Lorena, of course, since Lorena has since moved out, and, well, we don't really know where Justin II is, do we? But Marissa comes in to find her husband, Sean, rifling through things in here, immediately snapping at him, saying, what the hell are you doing? As Sean startles, of course, kind of putting down whatever he was looking for, heading over to kiss his wife's cheek, just saying, oh, hey, babe. I'll just have him actually, here, go kiss her cheek. As Marissa is not really having any of that, kind of reluctantly letting him place a brief kiss on her cheek, reiterating, what are you doing in here? Sean saying, they needed Madison's birth certificate for some school trip or something. Oh god, hello, Sims. Marissa, snapping yet again. What? Sean continuing, so I was looking for, it. Important documents are kept in here, right? Marissa kind of cutting him off, saying, I've told you before that when things come up involving the school, to let me handle them. Sean saying, yes, well, Madison was pestering me about it and you weren't here, so where were you anyway? Oh my god, go away, Butler. As, oh my god, well, you know what, let's have them actually more argue than continue to flirt here. An argument will work for this conversation's sake, I suppose. We'll just ignore the butler as always. As, yes, he asked where she was, Marissa simply saying, out on business, as he kind of gives, like, a once-over of her outfit, saying, doesn't look like you were out on business. Marissa replying, schmoozing the locals and making them think I'm their friend is business, dear. Now, scram. Sean just saying, well, why don't you show me where the documents are should this happen again in the future? Marissa saying, I will always handle things with her school in the future, as I've stated before. Besides, you are too incompetent to remember, so leave. Sean trying to protest as always, but Marissa just kind of giving him the one eyebrow raised look as Sean just rolls his eyes and reluctantly leaves himself. Marissa just kind of muttering under her breath as he leaves. Fuck her. She, instead of going to rifle through for any documents, goes ahead and sits down and calls the, oh god, sorry. Pulls out her cell phone and quickly dials a number. Pulling out her phone saying, hi, Principal Bradford. It's Marissa Clarke. I heard you needed Madison's records for something. I'm free tonight if you want to meet up so I can hand those off to you. So we'll leave her to sort out things with Madison's school there. We join in at the Winston Manor here, right into the study immediately, where Robert II is hard at work on his computer, looking focused but a little bit frustrated, just kind of poring over documents and such. And as he is sitting there working here, finding something good at least, hopefully, Julia is going to go ahead and walk into the study here, looking, at least wearing something a little bit different than usual, kind of rifling through things, definitely catching Robert's attention out of the corner of his eye as he somewhat double takes and looks around at her as she's rifling through things in the study, saying, hey there, Jules, you look nice. As she, cheerily for her at least, responds, thank you. Robert asking, what are you looking for? She says, here, my old briefcase, as she lifts up an old, kind of worn leather brown briefcase there, saying, I thought I stashed it in here after Terrence complained about having to push it out of the way in our closet all the time. Robert, kind of stopping his work for now to talk to his sister, saying, so briefcase, the suit, what's up? Julia sighing and replying, well, I was casually browsing the internet last night and saw that the Boys and Girls Club was looking for program managers for the summer, and I was thinking about how much I enjoyed my field study with them in college, so I decided to apply, as he immediately looks so happy and wraps her up in a big hug here. Don't you dare fucking sit down. Here, get her in a hug, get her to stand up again. Robert's like, oh, Julia, that's amazing, as she kind of sheepishly giggles, him continuing on, you were an absolute shoo-in, they'd be crazy not to hire you, as she goes, yeah, fingers crossed, I guess. Robert, kind of like taking her hands earnestly and going, I'm really glad to see you putting yourself out there again. You always used to light up so much when you were helping people. I think it's really great to see you getting back to your passion again, as she kind of gives him a knowing but, hopeful smile too, going, thank you, Robert, and thank you for always supporting me, even if I haven't always said that. Robert just kind of immediately brushing her off, saying, that nonsense, I always will, you're my baby sister, I just want you to be happy. Julia going, yeah, I haven't thought it in a long time, but I am. Robert giving, the biggest, most earnest smile back and saying, yeah, I can tell. I'm really glad. I think taking back your own life and being able to do so these days has really helped you, and for that. I'm thankful. Clearly trying to dance around the Terrence situation, not wanting to get too into it with Julia, but her definitely understanding what he's saying as she replies, yeah, I'm gonna be late. I should get going. So he's like, yeah, alright, of course, knock their socks off, as she kind of smiles and nods as she heads on out to her interview. I'll just head her out as sun's setting. It's getting dark out. As it is nighttime here, Robert kind of sitting down to get back to his documents, but hearing the front door open and someone enter. Oh my god, could the butler, like, leave, please? I should just fire the butlers in this game because, clearly in canon these two families would have butlers, but I don't actually need them in the series. All they do is annoy me and ruin my scenes. Anyways. As Robert hears someone coming in through the door, getting up out of the office chair and heading on out, looking first at the front door to see who it was, and then to the living room as he sees that it was Aimi who entered, his face kind of falling a little bit as he walks in and over to Aimi going, oh, I thought you were Mom. As Aimi goes, no, I got done with my client earlier than expected. Where's Mom? Robert just actually sitting down next to his wife here as he says, she went out to pick up some ingredients for dinner tonight. I don't know. She wanted to try some new Japanese fusion course or something. I think she was hoping you could help her with the preparation. Amy just kind of rolling her eyes and falling back against the couch saying, ugh, she knows I'm far from connected to my heritage, right? And I wasn't exactly helping my mom in the kitchen growing up. Robert going, yeah, she does. I just think she assumes that you'll know more than her at least. Amy rolling her eyes again saying, fine, tell her she shouldn't assume that, but I'll help as much as I can. Robert taking out his phone to text that to his mom. The two kind of sitting in silence as it's one of the more cordial conversations they've had in a long time at the very least. The silence a little bit heavy between them though. Jesus Christ. Yo, what happens if I literally just delete the butlers? We'll see if that breaks the game. Okay. Them sitting in silence for a minute before Robert decides to try and broach a conversation saying, go well with your client then. Amy, exasperated with his kind of poking at her about potentially cheating as he usually does, just going, Robert, I don't, as he goes, no, I was genuinely asking, as she says, oh, sorry. Yeah, I think there was some progress today. You know I can't really say more than that, right? Robert just kind of going, yeah, right. The two just sort of sitting a little bit silently for a little longer, not really wanting to kind of break the tenuous civil nature of this conversation here. Although we'll pretend they're flirting a little less. The Sims are very flirty today. Amy trying to strike up a conversation again this time, saying, why were you looking for your mom? Robert's replying, I just need her advice on something business stuff. Amy saying, I mean, you know, I had to take a handful of business courses to get my law degree too. Anything I can help with while you wait? Robert just kind of closing up a bit and going, no, that's okay, I'll just wait for her. Amy sort of quietly replying, okay. As they kind of trail off, Robert just kind of pulling out his phone to play some mobile game. Amy just deciding to reach over and turn on the TV just to have something to sort of fill the silence there. The two of them sort of just sitting there, not really attempting conversation once more as the door does open and Juliet does finally walk through. Robert letting out like an audible, really relieved and deep sigh as he just kind of stands up and heads over to his mom. Amy's face falling a little bit as she notices how relieved he seems to be able to go talk to his mom here. Aimi kind of calling after them as Robert is quickly, addressing his mom, like, oh, hey, can I ask you about something? Dragging her into the office, Aimi trying to call after them, going, Robert, you left your... She looks over at the couch cushion and sees that Robert kind of, in his quick welcome of his mother there, just sort of tossed his phone to the side on the couch cushion there, leaving it open on whatever random game he was playing. And she sort of looks down and, as a courtesy, decides to at least close out of his game for him and is going to lock it, is what she's intending to do. But before she ends up locking it, I'll just get her to look at a phone here. Before she locks his phone, she sees a call coming in from a contact labeled work, making her squint a little bit, but not picking it up, because she didn't necessarily think that he had work labeled as work in his phone. Just sort of staring at this phone call coming in for a long time, letting it go to voicemail before she goes, feeling a little bit bad about it, but unable to sort of stop her hunch as she looks through the contacts there. And as she thought, there is a contact in her phone labeled insurezo for the insurezo company that Robert runs. So a little unsure of what this work number is, but not willing to pry any further, already feeling guilty. She locks the phone and just throws it back onto the couch, pretending that she didn't even snoop at all, but having a hard time shaking that there's maybe something going on here that her husband's not been telling her about with whatever this work contact is. But we will leave Aimi there to her thoughts in her television shows as we head back into the office where Robert is talking to his mother, Juliet, who's actually sitting at the computer. I'm going to take a drink before we get into this scene because my throat's dying a little bit. Excuse me. I'll get her on the computer. Okay, as Robert's just kind of watching over the shoulder as his mother's fingers fly across the keyboard, working on stuff. Robert kind of going, and then, I don't know what exactly I did to make all those negative, but I mean, I know we're not doing well, but that column should at least be in the positive, I feel like. Juliet just kind of, shaking her head at her son, going, you missed a variable here, dear. Robert saying, yeah, you're right, thanks. Juliet kind of finishing up fixing some of the work there. Thank you for the follow, XOXO Journey. Welcome to the show. Hope you're enjoying. As Juliet, clicks off the computer and is like, easy mistake. Anything else I can help with? Robert just going, no, that was the only thing. Sitting down a little bit impressed, but, a tiny bit embarrassed that it was, such a quick fix that his mom did in the spreadsheets there, as Juliet says, all right, I should go speak to Aimi about this recipe, but as she turns to leave, Robert sort of sighs and steels himself, calling after her, going, wait, actually, Mom. Juliet peeking her head back in as he kind of curses under his breath, going, fuck, all right, you're even better at QuickBooks than me, and I don't even think that was around when you were helping out Dad. Juliet just kind of giggling and saying, well, no, dear, but it's the same general principles, and, I mean, the interface is easy enough to figure out. Robert going, look, I feel ashamed doing this because I want to be able to keep this family together. God, I've been trying for a year, but clearly it isn't working. And I'm terrified to admit it, but I don't know what I'm doing here. And I fear things have gone too far for me to know how to repair them. But you said insurezo's recovered from worse numbers before, yeah? Juliet, her kind of confidence not shaken, just saying, oh, yes, dear, I don't think you're past the point of no return yet. Everything will be okay. Robert's saying, that's just it. I don't know if it will be okay with my knowledge alone. I feel like I'm out of resources in my brain to find the right answers, but you helped Dad when the numbers were this bad before, right? Juliet going, if it wasn't for me, I would dare say insurezo wouldn't have made it. It would have just been one of those startups that went to the wayside. Robert going, I don't want to run Dad's legacy into the ground, and more importantly, I don't want to let this family down, but I don't know if I'm fully cut out for this. Juliet, immediately jumping into kind of building up and comforting her child mode, saying, don't say that, as Robert cuts her off, going, no, Mom, I'm not saying that to ask for pity. Would you help me on the back end, like you did with Dad back in the day, just until insurezo's in a more stable place? As Juliet kind of smiles, saying, I didn't want to step on your toes, but I kind of thought you'd never ask. Robert, having a bit of a relieved sigh for a moment, going, it's okay if you don't. I don't want to put you in a position you despise, as Juliet says, no, I quite like doing the business on the back end. I've always missed it since your father no longer requested my assistance, and I have nothing to do these days. I'd be happy to help you, dear. I'm glad you asked. Robert, sort of sighing, still feeling a little bit bad about having to ask his mom for this help, but pushing through with it, still going, yes, all right, thank you. Juliet going, there were a few other equations I noticed that were a bit cluttered, if you don't mind. Robert going, yeah, of course, as Juliet sits down and immediately gets to quick work, kind of magically improving a lot of the messy spreadsheets sort of before his eyes here, kind of undoing a lot of the sloppy work that he's done. Him definitely marveling at how quick she's kind of started to improve at least the organization of things, seeing that, her mind is definitely still incredibly sharp even after all this time, and still feeling a little bit bad that he's had to ask, but feeling a bit of hope in his heart for the first time in a while. So we'll go ahead and leave them there. Welcome back to an apartment we have not seen before, and actually I'm using an apartment that comes with the game. Don't flame me for it. I didn't have time to build a whole apartment, I realized, but it's fine. We are heading into an apartment we haven't seen on the show before, at least, as it is bright and early the next morning with Brent Winston in here going ahead and making some breakfast over here, getting to work on some pancakes, as over at the front door here we see Jacob Henderson enter, looking in as Brent calls over his shoulder oh, hey, stud, just getting back home, as Jacob just kind of rolls his eyes going, hush, those pancakes, as Brent's yeah, you want some? As Jacob's sweet, yeah, thanks, B. I mean, I don't know why I'm thanking you. You should be making me food since I've been so gracious as to let you stay with me until you find a place of your own. Brent just kind of playfully rolling his eyes back at his friend and sponsor, Jacob, of course, as Brent's oh, yes, thank you, my liege, for being so generous. I actually have a couple of apartment viewings tomorrow, although, Jesus Christ, prices have gone up around here since I was looking for one in college. Jacob just going, gentrification, as they both grab some pancakes and kind of dig in for the morning. Oh, not packing a sack lunch, excuse me. Grab a serving, there we go. We'll get them to both grab some pancakes and sit down to eat here. Jacob, just really going to town on these pancakes, Brent kind of laughing and saying, what, did the poor fool not feed you? As Jacob's I left before he was awake. Brent saying, ooh, ouch, that bad? As Jacob's sex was fine, but the date was just kind of dull. Brent going, damn, sorry you keep striking out. As Jacob replies, it's alright, I wasn't expecting much from Tinder anyway, besides just finding people who maybe don't know me and won't constantly be asking if we are dating. Brent going, hey, I'm sorry everyone assumes we're a couple when we hang out. As Jacob says, yeah, the curse of being the one openly gay dude in this part, but you haven't helped by no longer denying it, as Brent just says, it's less effort to let people think what they want. As a very brief scene there, but we'll just, as just a little quick check-in on where Brent's staying and what's up with him, but we will leave the friends to continue catching up for the morning. We are going to head to a house, now disclaimer, I still haven't had time to finish building this house. I forgot that it wasn't done being furnished from last season because I only used it in one brief scene. But just like the last time we saw this house, I think we should only need the main room. So if you see a bunch of blank rooms off to the side outside of the main area, just ignore them. We'll just pretend the rest of the house is furnished. And I will make sure that that's taken care of if we ever need the rest of the home. But yes, we are headed over to what used to be Cassandra's home, but is now, of course, Cassandra and Lorena's home, because it is Saturday night, which means it is time for the big meshing the families together dinner that Maxwell mentioned and invited Samantha to. And Samantha is here with little baby Tyler in her arms. I'll be totally transparent with you guys. Little baby Tyler is only with us for fan service for you guys, because I know we love baby Ty-Ty, and he doesn't get involved a lot, so we're giving you guys a seat with him tonight. But Samantha, a little bit nervous, looking all, dolled up here, is gonna go up and knock on the door. The only one left to arrive, actually, so Maxwell knows it's her, going out and saying hi to his girlfriend, welcoming her in, saying, "Hey, babe!" and "baby," as Samantha goes, "Hey, yeah, sorry, everyone else ended up busy tonight, so I got put on babysitter duty, but I didn't want to miss this dinner still. I hope that's all right." As Maxwell just kind of brushes her off, going, "It's plenty all right. You look really nice." As Samantha's like, "I wasn't sure how casual this was, and I didn't want to make a bad impression." Samantha continuing, I know you said you don't care, but I still feel like eyes will be on me. I still feel like eyes will be on me as the only Winston in the room." Pause, please. Why does Lorena have to ruin my scenes anytime? I should stop letting this bitch cook. Hold on. What is her cooking skill at? Uncanon. Excusez-moi. Let me just bump her cooking skill up, and let's deal with this fucking fire first. Jesus Christ. But anyways, yes, as Samantha is worrying about being the only Winston in the room, even though Maxwell's told her that they don't super care about the whole Clarke-Winston feud, Maxwell reassuring her again, just being like, "You are totally fine, babe, I promise, come on in." Both of them walking in as Charlie turns around, hearing that someone new has come in, and immediately beelining towards Samantha, yelling, "A baby!" as she runs over, Samantha laughing a little bit as Charlie asks, "Can I hold him?" Samantha being like, sure." I heard a concerning noise. Samantha going ahead and handing Tyler over to Charlie over here, as Charlie, here will have her pick up the little baby, absolutely enamored by the tiny Winston that is in the household. I guess Samantha's statement about being the only Winston isn't technically correct. She's got a little brother with her. Shakoba looking behind him over at Charlie, now playing with this toddler, going, "Yeah, that one's had real baby fever lately, so thank you. Maybe this will calm her down." As Mohini just looks at Charlie and goes, "We are still in college." Charlie replying, yeah, responsible decisions, blah, blah. Welcome wagon, go away. Here, we'll have her put Tyler down on the couch in between her partners over here, just kind of hanging out, playing with the baby, as, Shakoba and Mohini are definitely into the baby as well. Get the welcome wagon to leave. Samantha coming further into the home here as, Chris addresses his sister Charlie here, saying, "You'll have a niece to squeeze in just a little while too. Relax," as, he points to Amanda's pretty big stomach at this point. Amanda saying, "Oh my god, that reminds me, I found the cutest crib set the other day. Babe, look." Starting to show Chris some pictures on her phone over here, as Cassandra, hearing all the commotion in the living room, gets up from her place in the kitchen. Cassandra, who has actually met her her son's girlfriend, of course, goes and says hello to Samantha, and if I can get their relationship a little bit better, hold on. Wraps Samantha up in a big hug, of course, saying, "Sams, thank you so much for coming, dear," as Samantha just kind of smiles back, replying to her, "Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Blackburn." Cassandra going, "Oh, of course, and please, I've told you, call me Cassandra." Samantha just saying, "Yeah, right, sorry, not super familiar with how informal all of the Clarks in this side of the family tend to be here," as Samantha's just like, "Yes, right, sorry." Cassandra brushing off again, like, "Hush, do you know everyone here?" Samantha saying, "Sort of, I know who everyone is, at least, even if we haven't really ever spoken much." Of course, her kind of knowing who most of these Clarks are from events and such, but not, as a younger Winston, never really interacting with much of them beyond, civil hellos and such. Lorena going ahead and yelling from the kitchen saying, all right, I got a little experimental tonight, so hopefully you still like it, but dinner is served. Kind of calling everyone to the grand meal over here. There we go. We'll get the bell out and everything. And we'll see where all of these Sims decide to sit down. Hopefully it's in good enough places for the scene here. Oh, do Sims not actually go call a meal when they're not on autonomous? Oh my god, fun. We'll see if we can at least get most of the people to actually take a plate and head to dinner here. I'm honestly just gonna I sort of in my head have an idea of where everyone will be sitting during this dinner, but I'm just gonna sort of let the Sims go where they may. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. They're all in the same room. They can all converse. That works. Okay, yes, as everyone's running to grab some of this lovely dinner that Lorena has made, of course, as they sit down. Maxwell's twin brother, Dylan, sitting down and just kind of like immediately getting onto his phone as his mom, Cassandra, yells at him like, Dylan, off the phone, we have guests. Okay, kind of a weird setup we got going on here, but it's fine. Dylan just sort of rolling his eyes here and putting his phone away as his mom kind of continues to like sort of tease and dig in, saying, who have you been texting constantly anyway? You have a girl you didn't invite over here for dinner for whatever reason, as Dylan just kind of brushes his mom off, just saying, lay off, as Cassandra's like, oh, have you told her you love her yet? I found that expressing that early is the secret to a long-lasting relationship, sort of teasing her girlfriend here as Lorena sort of rolls her eyes and playfully hits Cassandra's shoulder, being like, are you ever going to let me live that down? Cassandra's saying, oh, of course not, baby. I will forever be impressed that my powers of seduction are so strong you confessed your love for me to your entire family in the matter of weeks. Lorena just sort of sighing and saying, as I have explained plenty of times, it was a bit of an exaggeration because I was put in a stressful situation. But it doesn't mean I didn't eventually get there with you, and it has worked out well in the long run, obviously. Giving her like a little kiss on the cheek as they sit at the table. Charlie saying, yeah, got a hot girlfriend and finally got grandma to stop talking to you, so win-win. Lorena just sort of a little bit like lightly chastisingly like shaking her head at her daughter, but saying, you said it. Samantha, dear, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really glad we could get everyone here tonight. I know there's silly conflict with the Winstons, but I promise we already view you as family over here. Samantha just kind of smiling over at her, definitely as the night goes on, feeling a bit more at ease. Let me actually have her go, like, at least stand by the table. We'll pretend she's sitting down with them. Definitely starting to feel more at ease as the dinner goes on, seeing how casual everyone is being here. As she says, yeah, thank you, Mrs. Clarke. A similar conversation to the one with Cassandra as Lorena says, oh, please, Lorena. Charlie kind of squinting over at Samantha though and going, hey, if you're gonna date my little half-brother for the long haul, we gotta make sure you're the right material to be considered family. You have not actually passed my rigorous testing yet, little Winston, but I'm sure you'll do fine. As Samantha's just kind of like, what? Chris just kind of yelling over at his sister going, Charlie, leave the girl alone. As Shakoba says to Charlie, I mean, she did bring you a toddler. Charlie thinking for a minute before responding, okay, yes, the baby bribe was a good first move. Her just kind of winking over at Samantha, who is lightly laughs, but is still a little nervous. And this definitely is like such a more informal dinner and situation than most of the Winston family gatherings she gets involved in. Still having a little bit of a hard time keeping up with what's sarcastic or not. But Amanda just kind of yelling over to Samantha going, pay her no mind, she just likes to be difficult for no reason. As Charlie kind of whispers over to Samantha, she's just mad because she hasn't passed the honorary sibling test yet. Charlie like smiling jokingly, but maybe a little less jokingly than she has been with Samantha here. As Chris kind of points over at 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕐𝕐 and 𝕰𝕤𝕦 saying, hey, these two don't have to pass any tests for us to consider them family. As Charlie says, are you taking Amanda's side over mine? Amanda kind of getting up and going over to her fiance as she says, we're getting married, he has to. Definitely jokingly, but Charlie raising an eyebrow at her brother at his, sort of perpetual tense smile he has on these days, but, Charlie not gonna make a scene right now. As Charlie just drops that and goes, well, not my fault that you didn't make my partners pass a rigorous exam before being cool with them. Samantha just a little bit confused by her statement and saying, wait, partners? As 𝕰𝕦𝕦's like, yeah, sweetie, all three of us are dating, of course, pointing to 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕐𝕐 and Charlie, the little triad here, as Sam says, oh, sorry, I guess I just never really heard of that before. I don't really understand how it works. As 𝕰𝕦𝕦's like, it's fine, sweetie, it's not something everyone understands, no harm. 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕐𝕐 going, yeah, Charlie, I seem to remember you being a little more closed-minded before you went to college and learned some shit. As Charlie just kind of whispers over to her girlfriend, 𝕰𝕦𝕦 here, she's gonna freak when she hears that you have a dick. As Samantha goes, what? 𝕰𝕦𝕦 just brushing off her girlfriend too, saying, ugh, leave her alone. Don't worry, Samantha, we will broaden your mind on gender and sexuality alike if you're gonna be in this family. Samantha is still just a little confused and flustered with how this has gone, saying, okay. Max kind of perking up at that finally, though, as he looks over to 𝕰𝕦𝕦 and goes, oh, wait, you're trans? As 𝕰𝕦𝕦's like, yeah. Maxwell's sort of going, oh, I didn't. I mean, I wasn't. His mother, Cassandra, kind of snapping her head over to him, like, Maxwell, I raised you more educated than that. As Max is like, oh, no, I didn't mean, sorry. 𝕰𝕦𝕦 just, not really that bothered, waving him off as conversation dies out a little. Amanda kind of trying to break the awkward tension and saying, I found new bridesmaids dresses. No one's seeming that interested in it, but letting her go ahead and pull out the pictures and bring the conversation back to herself as Maxwell continues to kind of just stare at 𝕰𝕦𝕦 throughout the dinner, at least sparing little glances at her, but everyone kind of having a good time, starting to fall back into relaxed conversation. Samantha definitely continuing to relax as the dinner goes on. And so we will leave them all there to continue their fun time. Oh, wait, here. We'll leave it on Tyler for the fun time over at Cassandra and Larry. We are headed back to the Winston Manor here, and we're gonna, another one where it's a bit dark in The Sims. We're gonna pretend it's a little bit later in the wee hours of the morning where I suppose it would still be fairly dark out. But in Samantha's room here, we have Sam wearing a little apron and polo here, just kind of freshening up, putting on her makeup, even though it is super duper early in the morning here. And she's about ready to leave for the day, and she's going to go ahead and peek out her door, ready to head out to where she needs to be. But as she peeks out the door, she sees her father coming up the stairs. Samantha is aware that her father has been sleeping down in the study. She's kind of noticed it a couple of times. She is the oldest child. She's not that stupid. But she is well aware that her father doesn't want her or any of the rest of his kids or anyone in the household to really know that. So seeing that in this early morning time, her father is actually awake in his pajamas and headed up the stairs. Oh, he came up the other set of stairs, pretending he came up these. Before he can notice her, Samantha is going to duck back in her room, making sure she waits until she hears the footsteps of her father fade and the bedroom door across the hall close as Robert heads into him and Amy's bedroom over here, very angry this morning. And once she's sure that her father is in his room, she's going to go ahead and head down to go make some coffee for the morning. But in the bedroom with Robert over here, as he enters, Amy is just kind of getting up at all of the commotion happening as well, seeing her husband come in and head over to the dresser. Ooh. To get dressed and kind of get ready for the morning, switching into set of pretty nice clothes, a bit of a suit over here as Aimi kind of squints at him, squints at the clock that says 6:30 on the side of the bed here, as she looks over at Robert saying, "It's really early," and Robert just kind of glancing over at her, noticing she's awake and saying, "Go back to sleep," as Amy's just like, "It's fine, I won't be able to now." Just going ahead and getting out of bed, sort of skeptically looking him over as she gets up for the day, saying, "You never go into the office on Sunday." Robert's still just kind of tidying up his suit in the mirror, replying, "Who says I'm going to the office?" Aimi kind of firing back, "Why wear a suit then?" As Robert just kind of sighs exasperatedly, going, "Aimi, I don't ask questions about your work anymore, just leave me to do mine." As she just sort of rolls her eyes as Robert stomps out of the room, her waiting a beat before going ahead and following downstairs to go get some coffee herself, trying to give her husband a wide berth as it's not really worth the argument this morning. We'll have her head into the kitchen as Robert II heads on out for the day. Sun's starting to come up, hopefully. And Aimi heading into the kitchen to see that... Did Samantha brew coffee? While we get a drink here. Samantha has already brewed a cup of coffee here. Kind of surprised to see her daughter awake this early as well. Going over to her and saying, "Oh, are you off to work this early too? People really want smoothies at 7 a.m. on a Sunday?" Samantha taking her coffee to sit next to her mother. Where the hell did she even go? Oh, out here. Samantha going to have coffee next to her mother at the breakfast bar here. It's damn Sims. As Samantha replies to her, "Yeah, I picked up an early shift today since I didn't work yesterday, and surprisingly a lot of people do want smoothies at 7 on a Sunday." Aimi just kind of looking a little bit concerned at her daughter and saying, "Sweetie, you know that no one expects you to get a job in this household." Samantha saying, "No, I know, Mom. We've been over this. College wants to see responsibility." Aimi replying, I know. You are incredibly responsible and reliable, though, and I think your transcripts show that. Just don't wear yourself too thin, okay? I know you already have a lot of other extracurriculars going on." As Samantha just kind of gives, like, a smile at her mom, like, thankful for her concern, but this is, a conversation they've had before. Samantha just sort of saying, "I won't, Mom. Like you said, I'm responsible. I promise I'm good. I love you." Giving her a hug as Samantha finishes up her coffee. Here, I see the butler has responded. I'll let Samantha get up and give her mom a hug as she's headed on out for the day. Nice and early, done with her coffee. Amy saying, "Yeah, I love you too. You need a ride?" Samantha just going, "Nah, my coworker's picking me up. I'll be home for supper though." Amy just kind of throwing, "All right, bye," as Samantha picks up her bag and heads on out of the house, following the footsteps of her father as well. Amy, where are you going? Amy just deciding to finish up her coffee at the breakfast bar, seeing that Julia has headed down the stairs, also awake nice and early this morning, grabbing some fruit off of one of the bowls on the counter here as she waves a good morning to Amy. Amy just saying to her, "Julia will be down here in a minute." Amy saying, "Gosh, are you headed out this early too?" Julia, a little bit lost in her own thoughts, but replying, "Oh, yeah, I wanted to get to the farmer's market right as it opens today." Amy's saying, "Okay, yeah, oh, I heard you're looking for work again. I'm really glad to hear that, Julia." Julia's saying, "Yeah, thanks. It's weird, but I've missed it. It feels good." Amy's saying, "Yeah, that's wonderful. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help, okay?" Julia just saying, "Yeah, thank you, Amy, but, I know you have a full plate." Amy just replying, "Look, it's really great to see you happy these days." As Julia says, "Yeah, it's good. I guess I just found something I thought I'd lost. But you have a good day too, Aimi. Just kind of hurriedly trying to get out of here before she has to continue on this conversation. Aimi just saying, yeah, thanks, Jules. But Julia really quick throwing out over her shoulder before she leaves, like, I can pick Chadwick up from his friend's house on the way home this afternoon if you want. Knowing that her nephew had spent the night at a friend's house the night before. Aimi going, yeah, that'd be wonderful, thanks. Julia headed off on her own as well, just saying, all right, talk to you later, Aimi. As Aimi just kind of sighs, putting her coffee mug away for the day, looking outside and seeing her mother-in-law, Juliet, already out in the backyard, sort of relaxing on the pool. As Aimi sighs, the house sort of quiet for once, actually, heading on upstairs to the bedroom of her little toddler to see that at least one person who is still in the home isn't quite awake yet. Little Tyler's still sleeping in his bed, but deciding to go get him ready for the day, as well as Aimi just sort of sighs, saying, all right, guess it's just you and me today, little man. Just sort of a little domestic scene there, but that's where we're going to leave the Winston Manor, with everyone seemingly off to do their own business for the day, except for these two. I just remembered something. I don't think I double-checked what outfits Chris and Amanda were wearing at that big dinner scene, so I apologize if they were both in the same outfits that they were wearing in that first scene with Rosalie doing a tour of the wedding place. They were supposed to be in special outfits for that, but there's a lot of Sims I was trying to keep track of in that, and I think I forgot to put them in their special outfits. So if they were in the same outfits as what was technically the day before in the game, I'm very sorry we didn't get to see their special dinner outfits. We are back at the wedding venue here. It is Sunday afternoon now, bright and sunny out. We'll pretend it's a little bit later in the game here, as Rosalie is here, a lot more casual, just kind of hard at work, working on some ideas for some flower arrangements to show to Amanda, Chris, kind of around. We'll pretend there's a lot of other worker men around, kind of building things, moving boxes, packing stuff up, unpacking stuff, etc., working on things for the wedding, doing some wiring, as Christopher's also kind of moving some boxes around, kind of putting some stocks of stuff over here, glancing at Rosalie out of the corner of his eye, and as he's sort of had to place some supplies over here anyways, taking the moment to stop near Rosalie, who's definitely noticed that he's stopped nearby, but not really deciding to acknowledge him till Christopher, after enough awkward hovering, tries to speak to Rosalie, saying, so, is that for the arch thing Amanda wants? Rosalie stopping working for a minute to just kind of throw him a blank look before getting back to her work and saying, yeah, trial run at least. Chris kind of awkwardly replying, it's pretty, I think she'll like it. Rosalie just saying, cool. As they kind of stand there for another moment longer, Rosalie just sort of working on what she's doing, as Chris eventually kind of speaks up again, saying, so, I was surprised to see yesterday when Amanda wanted to introduce the florist. Rosalie just rolling her eyes and saying, Jesus Christ, if this is going to be a whole conversation, can you at least make yourself useful by clipping those stems? Chris, startling at her, just kind of snapping at him as he just sort of nods and gets to working on something himself at the station right next to her. Just get her working on another one as well. Both of them working silently. Chris not 100% sure what he's doing, but just sort of idly clipping stems like Rosalie asked, as he just kind of tries to start conversation again, going, I mean, I'm not surprised Amanda was interested in your work. It's gorgeous. Rosalie yet again replying with a pretty short thanks, as he continues, I guess I just wasn't expecting you to actually take the gig, idly eyeing some of the other workmen that are placing boxes around here, trying to keep his statements a little vague, finishing it being a Clarke wedding and all, as Rosalie tries not to roll her eyes too obviously, going, yeah, well, I wouldn't want to say that I want to be working this gig. In fact, sitting here in this space next to you, bundling flowers for your marriage to Amanda, makes me want to crawl out of my own skin, you know, being Winston and all, kind of giving him a pointed look as he takes a big gulp, saying, I'm sorry, if I knew you were the florist, I would have urged Amanda to go in a different direction, considering our, the history of our families and all. Amanda doesn't know the full story of our family history. As Rosalie just goes, oh, I didn't think she did. Besides, it's fine. You don't have to wish you had turned away work for me. Get to work on something else, too. Things a little bit icy between them, of course, as they continue to just sort of idly work next to each other. As after a moment, Chris continues, so you still didn't really answer why you took the gig then, if you hate being here so much. Rosie just kind of putting down her clippers for a second and saying, look, despite everything, it's a solid gig and it pays extremely well, and being a single mother with a decline in clients, I'm not exactly in the position to turn down a job like this. Chris sort of slowing down on his own help over here, too, going, right, single mom. Rosalie absently saying, Chris starting to ask after another pregnant pause of, how is she? Rosalie just kind of cutting him off, saying, look, if you don't have any other questions, I really need to focus on this. As Chris sheepishly says, right. Sorry, yeah, I'll let you work. I'm sorry, Rosalie. As he kind of just starts to walk away, Rosalie not really responding to him again, trying to just lose herself in the work. As she takes a big breath, him saying, I'll see you around. Rosalie just kind of going, yeah, I guess you will. As Chris goes off to continue help wherever his hand may be needed, Rosalie focusing on her flowers as we will leave them there for now. As we head to catch up with Robert II here early morning in his suit, headed on out, and we are a bit across town. We're not near the part of town where the Winstons really reside, nor where insurezo is, as we enter another business, another office building with a large red sign out front that does not sport the name insurezo, but instead the name Securvo. Robert II walking his way up the many flights of stairs in the... Oh my god, leave me alone. Walking his way up the stairs, the many flights of stairs of the office building to the rival security company, to his own, to the one that the Clarkes own, not the Winstons, of course. Making his way all the way up to the very, very top floor, past all of the offices, all of the cubicles and such, and up to this main top floor here, to this very fancy door, as he enters the office of Securvo's leader, of course, Marissa Clarke, who looks up at him with a vicious smile on her face, saying, about time you got here. You're 3 minutes late with my coffee errand boy. And that is where we will leave the episode for tonight. So perhaps not the most dramatic episode or the most dramatic end stinger, but we will get more into what exactly is going on here next episode, as well as see where we continue with all those little plot lines we got going on tonight. As again, maybe not the most dramatic episode, but I think a lot of good little bits of awkward tension, at least. I love that awkward tension. I have much more planned with some of the awkward scenes moving forward. I have to say that last scene with Rosie and Chris is something that I've had in my head for over a year now. I've had that part planned out since halfway through season 1. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed a more domestic conversational episode, but I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. As the season goes on, of course, things will continue to ramp up. There's lots of drama in store, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're enjoying season 2 so far. Thank you so much for being here. Gav, if you could drop a Discord link really quick. If you're not in my Discord, you totally should be. Feel free to scream theories at me, scream reactions at me in the Discord channel for Traitorous discussion. I love you all very, very much. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed. I will talk to you tomorrow. And otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you later.